Good evening and welcome to the Trendy Teen Talk Show. My name is Trinine and I'm the host of the show. This is my co-host.
Hi, I'm Diane Drakes. It's really nice to be back again for the Trendy Teen Talk Show.
Exactly. Today we have some special guests with us. We have a special guest.
Hi, I'm Endia D. Cordova. I'm the Dean of Institutional Advancement at Manchester Community College.
And we also have our three guest teens, starting with...
I'm Khalid.
What town are you from, Khalid?
Oh, I'm from Hartford, and I'm going to 11th grade.
Great.
Next.
I'm Ajane Teles. I'm from New Britain, and I'm going to the 11th grade.
And last.
I'm Allie. I'm from New Fairfield, and I'm going into the 10th grade.
Well, let me start off by saying welcome to our show tonight. We're going to be doing College 101 and talking about how you can get prepared to go to college.
All right.
So, who's going to college?
Me.
Me.
Awesome.
I work at a college.
You work at a college, right? I wish I could go back to college. I'm so
Alumni of college.
right? I'm so excited that we're doing this show. And the reason I wanted to start off with that is making that declaration that you're going to go to college is one of the first indicators that you're going to do it. So, you're doing the right thing by making that declaration, putting that stake in the ground and saying that you're going to go to college. So I'm curious, right? Now that I know you're going, what's your interest? What do you guys think you might want to major in? What do you want to do later on in life?
I was looking to be a teacher and maybe do a little bit of photography.
Okay. So what grade level are you looking at?
For
Teaching.
I want to work with younger kids, like elementary.
Okay. Good.
I want to be a neonatologist, like with the sick babies. And, yeah.
I was thinking of maybe being an illustrator, but also as a more steady job career, forensic science.
So you're creatively artistic.
Awesome. So, India, I know that you're at Manchester Community College and you're working at Institutional Advancement. Just out of curiosity, what was your background and your major when you were in school?
So it's funny because when I started college, I had no idea that higher ed would be my career path. I attended Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland, which is a HBCU, a historically black college and university. Right. And got my degree in communications. So we were just talking about degrees in communications. So I started there, and the idea was I was going to go into the field of public relations. I wanted to be a journalist at first, but then public relations was really something that I was very passionate about, primarily because I found that who really dictates what you see on the news, and it's really the public relations individuals that craft what you see in terms of news. So I wanted to be part of that. Ended up coming back to Connecticut, getting my master's degree from University of Hartford. So it's an MBA in business administration. So I started at Manchester Community College in the public relations field, but allowed other opportunities to come up and go after them when they were presented to me. And over time, I've been at the college now for 10 years, and I've been now the Dean of Institutional Advancement for 2.5 years, almost 3 years. What I do at the college is really work with students in terms of helping them to find scholarships to close the gap, because college is expensive, so how do you pay for that? And I work very closely with our community in terms of finding resources so individuals can invest in our students and help them to succeed. So that's a big part of what I do. So the idea is that I didn't pigeonhole myself or put myself in this box of saying this is what I'm going to be. I found the opportunities came my way and ended up landing into a career that I never thought that I would be in. So it was interesting how I ended up where I am today.
I think that's really exciting, right, to hear, because I think when I was going to college, I don't think people admitted that, right? It was kind of like people said I wanted to be a teacher and they didn't let go of that, even if that's not what they wanted to do. And so it's very freeing, and I hope that you guys feel free that your interests may change. The reality is you're growing, your passions are going to develop, and so what you're saying tonight may end up being true or it may end up changing. And I think that it's nice to be able to hear that, because I can recall being in college myself and wanting to shift from being an English major to being a social worker. And I was like, oh no, am I failing?
Right.
So it's really nice to have that information. So, when I look at research, it seems that 37% of incoming freshmen are prepared for college. and the others are not. And when I say prepared, being able to read on a college level, being able to do mathematics on a college level, only 37% are prepared. How do you all feel as it relates to your current education? Do you feel like you're in good standing in terms of being able to go into your freshman year when that time comes? You feel like you're getting a quality education?
Yes, I feel like my school really helps to prepare kids for college, like as far as academic goes.
Great.
Well, I know there's a lot of high school that have AP classes, which are college classes, and you get credits for it. Are any of you taking any of those classes to get some credits ahead of the time before you actually get to college?
This upcoming year, I'll be taking a couple AP courses and taking it slow for junior year, but senior year, I expect to do more.
It's a great way to get your feet wet and to see what you might be able to get done in high school, so it doesn't seem like such a big jump by the time you get into college. So that's a great thing. So what else are you guys up to as it relates to kind of preparing and thinking about college?
Just at our school, we go on field trips and going tours of colleges, and we look around and see if this college might fit for us. So that's basically what I've been doing. And I got recommended to college actually by you, Roger Williams. So I looked there and see if I thought that would fit me in the long run.
Well, I usually go on the internet and look up qualifications and what school has this, what school has that, kind of sports, clubs, they're academic. So yeah, that's what I do.
So you do research, and I believe you mentioned to me coming that you wanted to go to a HBC school as well. So yeah, but I just wanted to put it out there that I work at Naugatuck Valley Community College, and I work at Waterbury High School, Crosby, and I exactly do the same thing. I'm teaching kids, helping them get college prepared and readiness, and it really starts in high school. It does.
I go to a lot of college fairs. It's definitely a big thing I do. I also did a pre-college program, which was a lot of fun for 3 weeks.
Right.
Oh, cool. So what did you do at that program?
Well, it was a cartooning program, so we all had to put together a minimum 10-page comic, which was a 10-page comic because no one was going over. Our title was "We Haven't Seen Sleep in 3 Weeks."
Okay.
It basically describes the class, but it was a lot of fun. It was nice.
Gave you a taste of what to expect,
Yeah,
and you still like it,
yeah.
which is a big test, right?
You stayed on campus?
No, we drove in. Well, we took the train,
Okay.
so walked along with a lot of people in business suits, just sitting there in my art shorts, just
Enjoying the New York life.
it was fun.
That's great.
I know a lot of high schools for the summer have programs with different colleges around in this area where you can do a college experience a week or two at the college. Maybe that's something at your high school you can check into, see if maybe next summer you can plug into that so that you know what it's like to live on campus, to get up, go to class, the dormitory, the college life a little bit.
I used to be in CONCAP, and we used to not sleep there, but we used to come there every day and wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we used to take classes not for college but for our next grade, so they'll prepare us, and it was really good. It was at Central.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Do you
kids.
find that in high school you're getting taught the skills that you need in terms of studying and time preparedness? I feel like that's one thing that a lot of students, when they start, they have no idea about the level or the amount of work, so the workload. So it's not that oftentimes the work isn't as difficult. It is, but it's about managing your time. So is that are those some of the skills that you're learning now while you're in high school? Do they broach that topic at all?
I think we learned about that in high school, but I think mostly it comes from your parents. It's your parents telling you how to schedule as far as work goes and other activity you have to do. It's time management, don't procrastinate with your work.
Yeah.
But sometimes time management is a big problem, because if you have someone that's really involved in high school and participate in a lot of clubs, or a part of an athletic team, or have a job, so you're doing many different things. So how much time does that really leave left for studying and preparing yourself for exams and research papers, or even doing scholarships so that you can apply to different colleges?
Back to like what you were saying, how like do they prepare us enough in school? Like he said, like mostly it's our parents that prepare us, because school, they take the time. Some teachers take the time to say, oh, okay, well, tonight do this, or even though we should know to do it because we're young adults, we should take the time to prepare ourselves for this test thing or this project, but I think some teachers like extend like their extra help, like their helping hand, and tell us, oh, okay, tonight study for this or study for that. Some teachers I've had like just don't care.
Right.
Like you fend for your own, like.
So the latter of what you just described, it's going to be a combination. So when you go to college, you're not going to have the professor holding your hand. They're going to give you a syllabus, and so you follow the syllabi for the year. And they may remind you that an assignment is due next week, but no one's going to say, hello, your assignment is due next week, or you're not going to have mom or dad, right, reminding you, hey, you got to turn that paper in. So it's really like something you just mentioned, as a young adult, being mindful of that. That's a big step. And I think that once a lot of students get that under their belt, they're halfway there in terms of being successful. Understanding how important it is not to procrastinate, to manage your time, and to really figure out the best way to juggle all the things. Because of course you know, if you're on campus and there's so many activities going on, you have to pick and choose, okay, am I going to hang out tonight, or am I going to get this paper done? I know it's 2 weeks away, but let me chip away at it. Or am I going to wait till the night before and, you know, have that 10-page comic that you described where there's no sleep at all. So it's really looking at the balance as it relates to time management. And as a young adult, how do you manage your time? It's so important when you get ready for school.
And I think finding that balance too, because you're absolutely right. And I think with technology, you guys are really ahead of the game as it relates to having something. I'm pretty sure most of you have cell phones, and being able to add tasks on your calendars, and, you know, really to be able to manage your schoolwork and anything else that you may be involved in. And I think sometimes you are kind of working with the parent, and they have it in their phone and they're telling you what to do, but starting to create some of those habits yourself.
Right.
Because once you start to do it yourself, then when you transition to college, it won't be as hard for you, right? And so you might want to start divvying into some of those things, and not necessarily just being on the fun sites, but using some of those other pieces that are there to support you.
How did you manage your 10-page comic?
Well, we had deadlines that they gave us. Also, a lot of stern looks. Also, another thing that I feel like really helped was, instead of being like, what have you done? You're behind. They'll be like, okay, how far are you? You're going to get jobs. Okay, how far are you? You are going to have a bit of trouble. Like, and you, I think a really good piece of advice they gave was, you can be as good as any other artist, but you can even be worse. But the person who gets it on time is going to be the one who gets the jobs, not the person who's like the Leonardo da Vinci but never gets it there.
That's a great point.
Yes.
It is. Multitasking.
I'm a lover of reading myself, and what I've been noticing is that they say that in high schools they've been pulling out a lot of the harder books in the curriculum, and I'm curious, like, if that's true for you in your schools. Do you feel like you all are getting challenging books to read, and what are you reading? What's your favorite book?
Well, one of my favorite books that I read at my school was The Odyssey.
Okay.
Well, I feel like the books that we have to read, they're not really challenging. They're pretty simple, and then the teacher reads it with you along the way. So it's kind of like you're getting read the book, and then you only have to read like a chapter or two at home. So it's not very hard.
So you don't feel like you're being challenged necessarily fully.
Nope.
And that's the issue. So when you the statistic you just quoted in the top of the show, the 37%, that goes right along with it. So it's really thinking through, okay, at the middle school, high school level, how are we preparing our students for college so they don't test into developmental reading and math, because you see a lot of that. And so the idea is that avoiding, or how can we avoid that system if that's what the school is doing?
Right.
What are some other ways to ensure that our students are getting the rigor that they need so that when they get into school, they're prepared?
And I think that's where shows like this are important to me, because I think sometimes parents don't realize that's happening. And I, can recall my mother clearly saying, go ahead and sit down and read a book. And but it helped me and it served me, because she wasn't my teacher. She was my teacher in life, yes, but she didn't just leave it to the teachers at school. So it really has to be a partnership, that you are really engaging your mind and pushing yourself so that you're not in that percentage that is not ready to take on the task of being present in college. It's so true.
And unfortunately, we do have a lot of students who do not like to read and will try to avoid reading. But even during the summertime, if you take the time to read a book, studies have shown when you go back to school, if you haven't read at all, your reading have digressed. So if you keep up with your reading during the summer and you go back to school, wherever your reading level is at, you should be able to maintain it or even improve it, because you should always be striving to read better.
I know one thing that happens. My school does every 2 weeks we read one classical novel. It's been everything from a 100-page novel to an 800-page
Wow,
novel.
that's pretty good.
And it's quite interesting. I do know a few students who literally just sit there for the first 5 minutes of discussion time, because the teachers just tell you the book to read and then we discuss it in class, and then pick up what the book's about and discuss it. And then I have this one friend, so I'm struggling to read this book, and she's like, I'm done. I'm like, what? She's like, listened to the audiobook. I'm sitting there like, that's not fair. That's not reading. So I know there's a lot of difference in there. But yeah.
And finding what works for you. You know,
Right.
I think sometimes for me, I'm an auditory learner. So sometimes I'll have a book and I'll still do the audio with it, because to me, I remember it better. So there might be some things that will serve you, but I think it's kind of tapping into what you think stylistically works for you. Because in
Works for
college,
you.
you're going to have to read a lot. So I think for me, sometimes hearing it kind of works, and then I feel like it made me want to read other things. So I think, I can't say I was always a lover of reading, but now I am. I don't watch the TV. So by nature of really getting into reading and finding reading things that I liked reading,
Right.
really helped me. So, if you or friends or people watching aren't readers, I definitely encourage you to think about what you are passionate about, what you really like, and then kind of start to read in that subject matter, because then it makes it more exciting.
One of the books I hated the most, I actually asked my mom, it was this classic, I think it was called something like The Scarlet Letter. And I actually asked my mom, okay, I'm done with it. Can I throw it out the window? She's like, why? I'm like, I want to feel that satisfaction, see it fly out. She said no.
She said no.
That's a classic.
That is a
The
classic.
Scarlet
Yeah,
Letter.
Scarlet
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember reading that in school.
So I have a question. Are you in 11th grade? Or
I'm
you
going into
going
the-
in 11th grade, going in 11th grade, going in 10th grade? Have y'all done anything already to start preparing, or made an initial step and maybe start looking at scholarships, doing research?
Well, I've looked at some scholarships with my advisor at school. He just told me there's a lot of scholarships, so just look for something. He showed us 2, but other than that, not really.
Okay, what about you, Anjanae?
Truthfully, no, not yet.
Okay. And I know you just now going into 10th grade, but this is a good opportune time for you to start looking. Why wait until you get to 11th grade, 12th grade, when you could look now and be ahead of the game, be prepared, know what's out there. If you already know what you want to be, you can start looking up scholarships that, you can apply for. Get all the information, do your research on it. So when that time comes, you're ready, set, and go.
I know we have a little bit of an expert in the house as it relates to that.
Yes,
do you have
we
any
do.
tips that you want to
my
add in
goodness.
about scholarships? Because I know that's your...
Yeah. So the idea is that once you decide on what school you're interested in, if you narrow down your top 5, you want to look at what institutional aid they often afford students when they come in. So your FAFSA is going to be your first step, because you'll get financial aid, and depending on your family income, you may get aid to help with covering the cost of school. Your goal should be to walk away with as little debt as possible. There's so many, I mean, the statistics that we see now with students graduating with debt is just unfathomable, especially when you graduate and not able to afford some of the things that you thought you could because you have incurred so much college debt. So there's a lot of scholarships that are out there to help you, even by specific areas. So like you're into like illustration,
Right.
forensic science, there's scholarships that are targeted for those specific areas that you can look into. The college that you're interested in oftentimes offer scholarships directly to students. That's something that we do at MCC. So we have a annual process where we award scholarships each year for students to really help to cover the cost of school. And then community foundations, and there's organizations in the community that you can access scholarship funding for as well. The Hartford Foundation for Public Giving is another organization that oftentimes awards scholarships. So it's looking at your specific area where you live, what community organizations are in that area that would help you to cover the cost of your education, tapping into the school's resource, because they oftentimes have endowments where they give out scholarships as part of what they do as an institution. So they have donors and alumni that are giving back to the school to help students like you. So there's a lot of different resources out there. So I totally agree with the earlier you start, the better off you will be. To really try to find those opportunities. Create a list. So the same way that you're looking online for what's the hottest thing, or what to do, it's the same thing. Create that list. These are the opportunities that I'm going to tap into and follow up with. So by the time that you are ready to start, you have your tuition and fees paid for, and by the time you graduate with as little debt as possible, so you can start your life right away and start to live versus think about, I have all these bills to pay as soon as you graduate.
Right. I just want to add too, important to reading is writing, because you got to be able to write out a scholarship in a paper. And then I would say public speaking, your speaking abilities, because you may have to go in front of a board that is going to interview you, because they have how many students looking for a scholarship? It could be 500 that apply for that same scholarship. So you have to learn how to speak, and you also have to think out the box and be creative, because you have to leave an lasting impression on them, because you have to really say to them, I really want that scholarship, and you have to show them why you want it more or deserve it more than the next one.
And some of the things that we look for when we're awarding scholarships, your community service. So what are you doing in terms of supporting your community? So it's not just about going to school and going home, but it's what are you doing? So whether it's involved in your church or whether you're involved in a civic organization in the community, that's very attractive when they're awarding scholarships. Also building a resume. So do you guys have a resume yet?
I do.
Okay, good.
You do?
You have a resume?
Good.
Perfect. So the resume is important. You could definitely add this experience on your resume.
Definitely.
And they look at that. So they want to see what kind of student are you? Of course, your GPA is going to be up for consideration, so you want to make sure that's where it needs to be. 3.0 and higher is oftentimes a target. So, the higher you can get your GPA up, the better. And like you said, writing is so important, because oftentimes you do have to put an essay or include an essay in your scholarship package. So you want to make sure that you are really honing in on your writing skills and can articulate your thoughts in a clear, concise way.
I'm starting to think about some of that now. A lot of times when you look at scholarships that you may apply for, that information is there that you might be able to begin to craft some things that you might be able to work with or change and adapt. But there is a tricky thing that happens called senioritis that you want to be mindful about. So I always tell people, the more that you can get done ahead of time, the better off you'll be, because it's better to have something to work with than to be starting from scratch your senior year, because there's so many other distractions.
It is.
So you guys are really in a good place to be here on the show now. and then just where you are in your life to be able to begin thinking about a lot of these little pieces that we're pulling apart. So, my big question. In-state, out-of-state. What are you thinking?
I kind of want to stay in-state a little bit just because I'm so used to like this area, but I kind of want to go out of state also to see like what's out there and what's new.
Oh, good.
Me, out of state. Out of state. I want to meet new people and discover new things. It's like more than Connecticut. There's more out there than here. So, yeah.
I don't know. I want to find a good college and then worry about the location afterwards, unless it's like in some crazy area. But probably out of state, just also because the location I'm in, I'm literally right next to my college. I drive past it every day. So I would not want to be in a college where my parents are getting groceries and I can see them getting groceries. That would be my worst nightmare. My dad literally told me, he's like, okay, you can go there, you can dorm at your house. I'm like, no, I'm counting the down days I leave this place.
And you're saving the money by doing that too.
She's like,
You really are.
She's like, I'm going out of state. I'm going.
Well, there's some great schools in state if you all decide. I like your strategy of looking at the best school and then deciding where. But we find that a lot of young talent are leaving Connecticut and they go off and then they don't come back. So, but the cost of education, college and state tuition is a lot cheaper. But I think out of state, I went out of state for my undergrad and it was a great experience.
And look, you came back.
And I did come back, not willingly initially. Full
But you
disclosure,
came back.
it wasn't like I was like, let's go back to Connecticut. No, but I'm here, right? And so the idea is you get a great amount of experience. I think regardless of what school you choose, once you get on a college campus, it really does change your life, in my opinion.
Right. I like both answers because, again, in-state, you save on your college education because you're already here. So it doesn't cost as much as college to go to out-of-state school. So your parents would definitely love that one. And I like the fact of out-of-state college because you get to meet other people from other regions, from other area. You get to see other cities, other towns, and it's just something different, you know. You may even want to consider making a life there, you know. It may have more to offer than Connecticut as far as in the job, as far as what you're going to school for. Because there's some horror stories that some kids go to school and they get their degree in a certain field, and when they graduate, sometimes they don't always get that job that they want in that field that they just spent all that money for to go to school for. And they still got to pay debt over it, but they haven't even found a job in that field. So I mean, so you do want to look where, if you're going into a field, do research, find out where that job is plentiful, where they're hiring at, and the salaries for that type of job in certain areas. Opposed to, I'm gonna do this job here, I'm staying in Connecticut, but they're not really hiring for that job. So I'm spending all this money to go to college and you end up doing something else.
Internships is so important. So while you're in school, when you decide, even if you could do internships now while you're still in high school, that would be helpful. And so the idea is that you might have to work part-time, you know, because you need income. You might work as an intern for an organization just to get a taste for the career that you're aspiring towards. And then when you're in school, when you're in college, you want to connect with the career services office on campus and find those internship opportunities. So the gap of you graduating without an employer could shrink. So the idea is that you're familiar, you know the organizations in that community that are hiring, and you've already made yourself familiar with them. So there might be an opportunity when you graduate for you to be employed. But I think internships is important. And it's you being proactive, because remember, no one's just going to give you it. You have to go out and seek those opportunities.
And I think she said a very important thing, whether you realize what you're doing is networking. You getting to know them, they are definitely getting to know you. So later on, if there's a position and you definitely qualify for it and you've been to school, they might keep you in mind, or they might remember you when you come back and say, oh, she was a good person. She did this really well, or what. I think she's really a good fit for this position. So you never know what impression you may make on somebody, because impressions last a lifetime.
So it's really helpful to be able to create some of those connections and to recognize that you're not too young to do that. So, you know, being 16 and really starting to enter the workforce, you don't have to be at a fast food chain. You can reach out to professionals that are in the arena that you are by asking for an informational interview, and then asking if there's any opportunities to shadow or to be in service. So to recognize that it doesn't have to be a college intern, that you don't have to wait until you're in your junior and senior year, that you can conduct yourself as an adult and still maybe work at a fast food place in the summertime, but that doesn't have to be the end all be all. And who knows, they may actually want to pay you because you've presented yourself in that manner. So to recognize that, I think, is really key.
And there is like paid intern and then voluntary intern. And I do know some school system had required or did require or may still require you to do what they call as community service hours, which is an intern.
Yeah, that's our school.
And then I know some did away with it, which I think is a real disservice, because I think to do it, and it was part of their requirement for graduation, I thought it was great because it's giving them some experience, and they made it part of their credits that they could not graduate unless they had those certain amount of hours completed as far as intern. So I don't know, do your school have
Yeah,
an
my school
intern
does that.
program?
Well, it's not intern. Well, you have to do the community service at least 24 hours to graduate.
Okay. And do yours?
You have to do community service hours, but not really internships specifically.
So,
Well, my new school, I don't know, because I haven't really went there yet. But New Brighton High, in the beginning, we had to do community service, and then I think they like changed it to where we had to do like certain hours, or it's crazy. But and then Enfield High, we had to do community service.
Okay.
so what are you guys thinking? I know we're talking about internships, but I kind of want to transition a little bit to talk about what are you thinking about as it relates to even now during high school, and then of course during college. Do you think you're going to work or not work? I think, we've kind of touched on that, but just to kind of see what your thoughts are. Clearly, I know there's a lot more demands that you all have in terms of some of your needs with these smartphones and all these expensive things that you all like, so your taste is a little bit more. Do you plan on working for entertainment, for some of your needs and personal desires, or do you want to just kind of focus on your academics? What do you think you're...
Definitely work, because mommy's not going to pay for it.
Well, at least you know in advance.
Yeah, mommy's not going to pay for it. So work.
So you're going to balance and work?
Oh my gosh, I literally go to places, I'm like, this is going to be my minimum wage job for college. Because my dad's like, neither of us got money from our parents. You're going on your own. Thanks. So yeah, I'm like scoping out my minimum wage job that I'll be having for college.
I love it.
I plan on working while in college,
Yeah.
just like for what you said, personal needs.
I think it's, it's an interesting thing to think about, especially when we talk about time management, but even the fact that you are going to have a job. If you don't have a job now, it's really important for you to kind of develop some of those habits, because when you have to work, that's going to take away some of that extra time that you may have had to work on assignments and things like that. So I think it's really an important conversation to have. And even once you get to college, there's something called work study. And so you may have an opportunity to be awarded with that, where you have an opportunity to work on campus.
I was just thinking that.
And, so I think one of the things that I often like to talk to students about on campus during my time was to make sure that you're being purposeful about the job that you pick, right? And that you might be able to work in the library, which might allow you time to study, or you might be able to work at the front desk. But if you're working in the grill, you might get free fries, but you don't really get to read your book because you're making everybody else's food. So to kind of the pluses and minuses of that and what might serve you, like if you're interested in culinary arts, maybe the grill might be a better place for you because you're making connections and learning how to do. So kind of thinking about what will serve you and where you could serve best, because again, you're developing those connections
and skills. So while you were speaking about that, you know, we have students that work in our office, and there's students that are looking to do, whether it's customer service type positions or just build on a specific skill set. So there might be departments on campus that you can actually work for to enhance those skills, but also looking at how that can help you to accomplish your goals, whether it's to get more studying in or networking, etc. But there's opportunities on campus. I would advise, if you have an opportunity, since you are all traditional age students, while you're in high school, and sounds like most of you do have part-time jobs now. Yes, no? Not yet?
Oh, mine's ended today.
Okay, you did say that. If you could save your money now, so if you can afford not to work your first year in college, I think it's so important if you can dedicate your first year to school and really understanding the ins and outs, because it is a culture shift from going from high school to college, and you want to give yourself time to acclimate into this new environment. So giving yourself the time means maybe planning ahead and saving your money, so all the things that you need, hitting up your family for some care packages so you can save money that way as well, but really thinking that through. So maybe you get a work study position in your sophomore year or even junior year, but that first year you really want to see if you can dedicate solely to just understanding the environment, getting the culture under your belt, the habits of studying, your coursework under your belt first before you add on an additional layer. I know not all students have that luxury. At MCC, we're a community college, so a majority of our students are part-time and they do have to work. So there's just that piece where you have to work in order to take care of your family, and you're getting that education to help your family as well. But if you have the opportunity to save and dedicate that first year to school, I would definitely recommend and advise that would be something to consider.
Something that I can recommend is in your town or cities and where you live, they have summer workforce development programs where it gives you summer youth employment, and you get valuable skills and learning there, and job seeking skills, 8 career competencies and what it takes, customer service, your basic math and reading, computer skills, interpersonal and communication, personal qualities, financial literacy. So you learn so much in these things. So, and also you get a paycheck. That's the plus. And you can take some of that money. That's part of financial literacy.
Save.
And take some of that money and start saving it up during the summer while you're going through these training programs, because that's exactly what they are. They're trying to train you and teach you the work skills that's needed, just the basic. We're not even talking about going into the field that you want, but just the basic and what you need to be able to work. Resume, that's another one. Resume, job seeking includes your resume, cover letter, all that. Interview skills, mock interviews, so on. Dress for success. So it goes through everything from A to Z to help build you as a better youth so that you can learn skills to work with.
I did one of those programs where I worked in through the hospital for special care, but I didn't really interact with the patients because when I grow up, I'm already grown up, but when I grow up and go to college and pursue a career, I want to work with the sick babies. I want to be a neonatologist. So even though I didn't work directly with the patients, I still got experience with doing medical files and just being in the hospital and
being in that
environment.
Learning the terminology,
yes,
so you hear words, you could pick up on those words. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, it taught me a lot too.
Well, I suggest you keep going until you graduate, because these programs are available for you to go over summer and summer. So you should be a pro by the time you graduate.
So how about talking a little bit, I know we touched on writing some, and what I'm wondering about is how you all feel like social media and texting has had an effect, if you feel like it's had an effect on you personally, on how you write, and if you make a mistake and how you feel about that. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that. How do you feel like texting and social media has affected your writing?
Me personally, social media and texting, I'm very bad at texting back and calling and all that. That's just not for me. Like, I'm one of those people that the phone, like, I'd rather not text. I can't. It's like, it bothers me. I'd rather write, read, something else. But social media is not like, it doesn't have like a big place in my life. Like, it doesn't, like if I didn't have a phone, it really wouldn't affect me because I'm not used to being on the phone all the time like my friends are. So it doesn't really bother me.
I was going to say that you're probably a rarity amongst your friends. But that's great to hear.
I wish some of that would rub off somewhere else, so other kids would do that too.
What do you guys think?
I feel like social media, for me personally, it hasn't affected my writing skills at all. I feel like it's not that big. For me personally, for others, social media is like a very
everything.
Yeah, it's everything. But
for you, not as much.
Yeah,
what about you?
Well, it's just mostly texting.
Texting.
Writing, well, social media, I definitely had, like, from the program, I got to keep in touch with some of my professors, which is nice. And then one of my professors literally warned me. She's like, I'll be sending you emails at 1 a.m. I'm just that strange. So be prepared. But I haven't really found it effective, especially really affecting my writing. Although I have to admit, I now lean on spell check for most everything.
Okay.
That is a
Yeah.
My writing teacher literally says, okay, you can do it if you're the best speller, but if you fail at spelling, just use spell check.
Actually, what I find with a lot of our teens, when they text a lot, they text in slang language. So they're not texting out a correct English word. It's usually broken down into codes, and you got to decode the text. So sometimes they even talk like that because they write it so much, and when they're writing regular, and the program that I do now is working with teens, I did a social media piece with them and had them correct the sentence that was written the way they would have written it on social media to try to get them to write it in plain English where everybody can understand, and they had a hard time decoding that because they're so used to writing it in slang, like LOL, just laugh out loud, or ONG, so now you got to guess what these words mean. So these letters mean. I'm taking a course and just trying to figure that one out.
Especially some of my friends, they'll say some of the text talk out loud. They'll be like TBH, like to be honest. Like that's kind of weird to me. Like you don't gotta say the text talk out loud. Just say to be honest.
I have some friends who use so many slangs, and like I literally just say, okay, grandma's curious. What does that mean? Like, I'm grandma. What does that mean?
What does that mean? What does that mean?
I find that sometimes it's not necessarily the writing that it's impacting, but how they speak. So students oftentimes, it's not they would speak how they text.
Right.
So that's something to be cognizant of. But it sounds like you all don't have that issue of being so roped into social media, but maybe some of the viewers or your friends, that might be an issue for them. And just, again, being thoughtful around that, because a lot of times you do get so caught up in that world that it translate and transfer into the real, quote unquote, real world. And you're speaking like that, you're writing like that, and it really can have an impact, right?
And just making sure you get an opportunity to double check. I think there's forgiveness in a Facebook post status, but not so much in a cover letter. And so there's been times where lately I feel like I've looked at some things in the hiring processes and I've seen mistakes, that are maybe word usage or a confusion as to which tense the person thought they should have been writing in. So to recognize, right, that it's really important to double check those things, to perhaps maybe share it with another person because that's representing you. So even as I think about your college application, to not do that in isolation, you know, and to be able to share what you're thinking about your topic to be for your essay that you'll have to submit with your college application, to make sure that it's well thought out. And, you know, sometimes people, when they talk about that college essay piece, they don't know what they want to write. And everybody hasn't had something dramatic that happened in their life. But one of the things that I have recognized in working with college admissions as well is that you want it to be you.
Right.
You know, and people know when it's fake.
Yes.
So thinking
Authentic.
about what is who you are and how you want to portray that, and what you want to present, because that's you. You know, unfortunately, we don't get a chance to go to every college and university that you apply to, but you'll send a nice package that represents who you are. So
Right.
you really want that to be representative of you.
It's like a good book. It draws you in, and you want to keep reading it. You want to get to know who this person is. So writing as well as a face-to-face interview is very important. If you can draw them in to your story or what you have to say and make it personable and relatable, you got it, you know? You just got yourself one step closer to maybe getting that scholarship. So it's all in how you present things as well. Speaking of social media, how many of y'all are aware of what you do write and post on Facebook, Twitter, or pictures you post on Facebook, Instagram, can affect you as far as getting in or not getting into a college or even getting a job?
I know, like, on vacation, our basketball coach told us, like, don't post reckless stuff because jobs and colleges look at your page when they want to know about you. And my parents told me that, like, just watch what you post, watch what you say.
You'd be surprised how many people are really looking you up. You're supposed to be researching them, they researching you. You never know who's watching. Eyes are always watching. The eyes are always watching.
Have you guys heard of any stories with your peers where you've seen any of those things happen, where someone may have had a consequence based on a posting?
Like in my job orientation, because I work for the New Bern Parks and Rec, and they tell us, like, because they've witnessed, like, cause we're not supposed to post our campers on social media, and people still, like, post them on Snapchat, and they're actually, like, watching us, like, they're putting the slides up of people taking selfies, like, last day of camp, this crazy stuff, and just from doing that simple thing, they won't get rehired for next summer because they posted that, like, when they simply act as not to post pictures of campers.
Right, but that's also part of, I guess, confidentiality of the campers.
Right.
That's a breach of confidentiality that they're breaking. So you got to be very careful in what you do. Not everything has to be shown to the world.
Yeah, I know a student that I was working with, and she actually posted a few things online and lost her college acceptance and some of the scholarships that she had received. So,
Wow.
you know,
That's sad.
it's very critical to really consider what you're posting and the representation that you have, not only in person, but on being a digital citizen. And how are you representing yourself online? What are you liking? What are you, you know?
Commenting on, all that can be tracked.
Yeah.
And also your profile picture is so important to consider. A friend, one of my mentees, she was looking for a position, and the recruiter basically told her she needs to change her profile pictures if she's serious about being considered for this particular opportunity. So it's even thinking through that, like, you know, is the profile picture with you and your friends, you know, hanging out, or is it something that's more attractive and presentable to what you're trying to do next? So that's something to always think about. So as you get closer, you may have to start making those changes.
So, who wants to go to college?
Me.
Do you still want to go?
All that. Who wants to go?
Awesome. Perseverance is key. Perseverance is definitely key. And I think once you get there, you will be able to achieve all the things that you want to. But here's one of my last questions is, who's comfortable with asking for help?
Oh, me
I
definitely.
am, yeah.
Me, like, I have any trouble, I just ask for help. Or if I'm really embarrassed, I have this thing where I eavesdrop on like neighbors. Like anytime anyone else asks for help, I listen to them.
Oh yeah, I'm that annoying student. Like, hi, I need help. Like right now.
That is, I think, to me, probably one of my best advice that I would give to each of you and to everybody watching is to ask for help. You don't know what you don't know. And so to reach out, there's so many offices on college campuses that's what they're there for. There's someone to help you with your writing. There's someone to help you with your math. There's, professors that are there to help to support you. And so sometimes you get this, college, they're not going to give you a reminder. They're not, but they also have office hours and they're there to help you and to serve you. So don't feel like you're in it by yourself. Definitely reach out. I think there's so many students that sometimes end up having to leave college prematurely because they didn't ask for help. They felt like they had to do it themselves. So I think that is one of the reasons that I wanted to do this show, so that we got a chance to put it out there that this isn't just on your back. If you make that declaration and you put that stake in the ground, you want to go to college, then there's community of people that want to help you. And so to begin to ask those questions so you can get information about scholarships. You can get information on, do you think I should work or do you think I should not work? Or try working now when you're home and it doesn't cost as much to be in public high school versus a $10,000 or $20,000 education, So kind of weigh that out and see what feels right for you, because what worked for me may not work for you, and vice versa. So I think that this has been a really good conversation to start to break down some of those pieces.
And if I can give advice to you, is I want you to go to high school and enjoy high school. High school is about learning academically, but it's also about you discover who you are, and discover what you want to be, and allow yourself to do that. And just make sure, I know everybody wants to get good grades, and that's very important, and I hope you strive to your best ability to get good grades, but just know that if you get a B, it's okay. Don't stress yourself out over it. And again, try to be more well-rounded. Make yourself a well-rounded person. Get involved. Don't be that student that just don't do anything. Because if you are going to apply, she clearly said, they look for that well-rounded individual. Overall, they're looking for someone that's well-rounded. Okay? And have fun and enjoy yourself. Do you have anything you want to say?
I say when you make your decision, enjoy it. And enjoy being on that college campus. Get involved, like you said, and don't take yourself so seriously. You have the rest of your life to be serious, right? You don't want to waste your parents' money either, but you really want to be open. So when opportunities come your way, if you decide that maybe this isn't the right path for me, speak up, ask for help, find other ways to really carve out where you should be, but be open to what's coming your way.
Okay, so do you have something quickly you would like to say?
Thank you guys for letting me be on this show. This is a good opportunity for me.
I hope it was very insightful and learning to you. You had a lot to offer.
Got to come back.
Yes, for sure. What about you, Ajane?
I learned a lot in this little city. Taught me a lot.
Good.
What about you?
Thanks for inviting me. It's nice to learn a lot about college instead of hearing like my parents' stories. It's nice to hear from other people.
That's great. And that's what it's about.
Yes.
Let's keep this
Share.
conversation going, and share with your friends, share the taping with your friends so that they can learn, and have more people to be able to go to college, and let's increase this rate of 37%.
Yes,
bring
so
it
we're
up.
prepared.
To have people to really be ready and prepared, because the debt that you incur, you want to be able to sustain yourself, and not to just be in debt, but to really have a career where you can thrive and feel passionate.
And you all are such bright young people. You have the amazing futures, and so the idea is, by you even coming on the show and talking about your experiences, it's helping somebody else. So I commend you all for saying, I'm going to college, and being wise and smart about the next steps in terms of how you're going to get there and how you're going to be successful. So I can't wait to see you in like 10 years and 15 years and what kind of individuals you all turn out to be. So good luck and congratulations.
Thank
and
you.
the sky's the limit.
Well, I think that's it for our Trinity Teen Talk Show for tonight. We certainly had a nice conversation. I'm hoping that you go back to school at the end of this month, or for some in September, fully energized and charged and ready to begin working on your futures and your careers and not waiting till later. But again, thank you all for being on the Trinity Teen Talk Show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.